I was born in Colorado, Denver, Colorado. When I was 6 years old, my father moved the family to Indonesia. He worked for Mobil Oil and was a geologist. So it was the type of thing that he had to go to the next place to work, the next place to explore for oil. So at 6 weeks old, off we go to Indonesia. And a year later, we were in the Philippines. So here I am, just a little guy. We're already in two countries, and I'm nearly a year and a half old. At that point in time, he was transferred with Mobil to Australia. And in Australia, he was responsible for finding one of the largest oil fields in Australia at the time. Books are written about him, and you can look him up, and Alfred Weegar. And so he was a great geologist, one that found many, many oil fields throughout the world. At that point in time, my younger sister was born. She actually has dual citizenship. And then we moved on to our next great location, which was Somalia. And so we were right at that transition when the Russians were moving in. And we were there about 3 years. So Somalia was a gorgeous country to live in, one that I would love to go back to if it didn't have the problems it has today. From Somalia, we moved to Libya, Tripoli, Libya. And my father was responsible for finding the largest oil field in Libya at the time. And we were there for approximately 6 years. And during that time, I went to American school in Tripoli. Really is a gorgeous country. Some of these countries we were at were just beautiful, gorgeous. The people were so nice and wonderful, but the problem is the influences of both the Islamic radicals and also the Russians ruined everything at the time. We were there for the Gaddafi coup over King Idris, and we were also there during the Six-Day War. And both those times we were evacuated. They flew us out of Wheeless Air Force Base, evacuated all the families, and all the men stayed in country and continued to do their jobs. But it was horrific, some of the things that were going on in Tripoli at the time. As we vacated the city, going down the streets, seeing what was happening, guns shooting in the air, Mirage jets flying over, all sorts of things. So as a youngster, it was quite traumatic. In Libya, I was afforded the opportunity to go to anywhere to go to high school. And so I chose Notre Dame International School of Rome and ended up graduating from the school. So had quite a unique experience being able to go to Italy to go to high school. During the summers, we'd come back and I'd visit my grandparents, and they lived in Monmouth, Illinois, and that's where I'd do my summertime work. And really started getting into understanding what it meant to make a dollar, because I was taken care of to that point. So landscaping, detasseling corn, all those things that you do when you're a young adult to make a buck to pay for your clothes. When I was at Notre Dame, it was tied into several Texas schools. A couple of them were SMU and TCU. My father was looking at coming back to Dallas, so I went ahead and went to TCU. Had 4 great years at TCU, and it provided me an opportunity to really decide what I wanted to do in life. I always liked public service. Really enjoyed it because I did a lot of it overseas, working in various capacities with the community. But I said, I think public service is where I want to be at the time. So I got my undergraduate degree at TCU in sociology and psychology, thinking that I wanted to be a clinical psychologist or be in some form of program management. So I went to North Texas. After I got my undergraduate degree at TCU, I went to North Texas and majored in clinical psychology for 1 year. About that time, I was switching professions, and I went from the drug treatment center to the juvenile probation department. But it wasn't something I wanted to do as a career, to be a career probation officer. So I was getting my master's degree at that point in time in public administration. It's more geared to program management, or even if you wanted to get into city business. My wife one day said, okay, you got this degree. What do you want to do with it? And I said, well, I don't quite know what I want to do with it. And she said, well, I saw this ad in the paper. And in the paper it said, assistant to the city manager, City of Hurst. And she had said, is that something you could do? I said, probably can do it. Don't know if I want to do it, though. But I'll look at it. So we drove out to the city of Hearst, drove down Highway 10, and went by the aging industrial at the time and some of the aging facilities on Highway 10. And I said, I just don't know about this city. I don't know. And I said, let's go Precinct Line Road. So I went up Precinct Line Road, went past City Hall. City Hall was kind of a cake-type facility, 2-story, looked like a wedding cake. And there was a small building, which was Public Works, next to it. And I said, okay. So we swung back around, saw the mall, said, man, the mall's great. That looks like that has some potential. So a week later, I applied for the job and actually got the job. A.J. Brown was the city manager at the time. Really, it was a great opportunity for me. Actually had a fairly good salary at $16,000 a year. And I said, maybe this would work. Maybe this will work. And AJ was a little bit different type of manager. AJ was more of a hands-on guy. He would get out there on the backhoe with the employees, and very good personality, very people-oriented, but not a lot of city management experience. AJ left about a year and a half after I got there, after I was hired, and they hired Jim Starr. Jim Starr was my mentor in city management and was an exceptional manager. One that really knew management, had a public administration degree from North Texas, one of the premier at the time public administration schools. Had a lot of interaction with city officials from all over North Texas, being with the North Texas Council of Governments. So when he came in, he really provided me some great mentoring in management. He provided me that opportunity to look at the things on how to develop an organization and how to develop city council members. During his tenure, we worked great as a team. He had a very good staff working for him, and he was the type of manager that let the staff do their thing. He gave them the direction to do their thing. Same thing I believed in. So they were great people. The staff was great people. Jim was a great person. '89, I was made assistant city manager, and there were a lot of redevelopment needs that were going on at the time. The only problem is we didn't have the wherewithal to get out there and do land banking and a lot of participation. Hearst was 70% residential, 30% commercial. We were the first city to grow in this area. We were the big city, big sister of the three cities, Bedford, Euless, and Hearst. So we developed first. We had the most population at the time, and we needed to look at other opportunities in the redevelopment area. We went through several really traumatic issues during that time frame. One was a downturn in the 80s. Financial crisis in the 80s, and we also went through the Northeast Mall expansion project. We'd worked diligently with Simon Development. Northeast Mall was kind of the goose that laid the golden egg, is what the city council always said for the city of Hearst. The mall was a big player in making Hearst what it is today. The redevelopment of Hearst City Hall together, which was traumatic because we had to move the entire City Hall out of that facility and put it in a shopping center down on Pipeline Road. So we moved all of City Hall down to Pipeline Road in temporary quarters, and that even provided another opportunity for me and how I wanted to manage later on in life, because I got out during that time. We were right next to Salad and Such, which was a salad and soup, great place, but all you did all day was smell soup. And it nearly nauseating to that point. So I decided I'd get out quite a bit and drive the city. So I was out a lot driving the city, looking at neighborhoods, visiting with people in neighborhoods. So it provided me an opportunity to understand that if you're manager, you need to manage by getting out. You don't need to manage behind the desk. 1997, Jim Starr retired. And I took over as city manager and had basically the same department head group. Wonderful group of people, very professional, very articulate. Alan Heindel, and then Tim Wallace is a police chief, and then later Steve Moore. And just a great group of people. I hired a few department directors during my tenure, a new fire chief and John Brown. When Rick Fry retired, John Brown was hired as the fire chief. And then he retired about a year after I did. And then Steve also retired a little bit time after I did. But it was a great opportunity for me. Had a wonderful city council, professional city council. We started with a council that was very hands-on, and when AJ was there, and when Jim Starr became city manager, they understood that they needed to trust staff to make those decisions and not worry about the day-to-day activities. The budget sessions were very tedious, all-night events nearly, till 6 in the morning. And but the reason they were is because the council at the time was getting into the detail of the budget. They didn't care about that we were going to pay or do a drainage project for $1 million, but they wanted to make sure we were buying our wrenches for $1.99 from Sears instead of probably $2 from a catalog, from another source, our vendors. So they would make sure that that was their comfort level at the time, was to get involved at that level. And then when Jim Starr came on board, he took it to a whole nother level and said, "Listen, guys, we're going to present you a budget. Make sure you understand it, read it, go through it, make sure you talk with your constituents, and then we'll present it to you. And if you have questions on the large expenditure items, we'll go ahead and visit with you on those. But let's get out of the nuts and bolts, and let's get into the big items." And when I became city manager, and I got more into strategic planning, getting the city council involved in making decisions for the future based on sound information that the staff would present to them. Not so much the budget side of it, but where are we going to be in 10, 15, 20 years down the road? And so we actually did a process where we had retreats just on the planning side of it, came up with mission statements, came up with goals, objectives, everything that a progressive city needed to do to progress in the environment we were in at the time. Very competitive environment with other cities in the area. So that is kind of where I, as city manager, decided that we needed to look at a complete transformation of our city. We needed to transform our city government, we needed to transform our organization, and we needed to transform our community. And so we came up with the not unique moniker of Transforming Hearst. So on the city council side of it, we went in deeply into strategic planning. We also made sure that they were involved, even when I say even from the organizational standpoint, they had relationships, professional relationships, not personal relationships, with our staff. And so we involved them in a lot of our staff strategic planning sessions, giving testimony on the political side of it. So our department directors knew exactly the policy side of it versus the administrative side of it. So the council went through strategic planning, they went through development, council development, one-on-ones with a consultant that I brought in to kind of get them on the same wavelength. That's the key of a good city council. Trust your staff to do their job, and trust your staff that they're going to guide the council in the policy directions that they needed to be guided in. We always had wonderful people run for city council. And in looking back in my 36 years of the city of Hearst, I can only remember one or two council members that were in the early days that had any issues, any agenda with staff or with anybody. There was a lot of stability on the city council. As Mayor Wilson says, we're going to agree to disagree, but we're going to do it respectfully. And that's exactly, from the stability standpoint, that's exactly what the city council has always done. And not being involved with the current council because there's been quite a lot of turnover, I've seen nothing that anything's changed. And probably the biggest thing that provided that was the strategic planning with the city council, and making sure that they understood. They came up with their tenets of their guiding tenets on what would make them successful. And one of them is, let's don't argue in public. Behind the scenes, maybe so, but we aren't going to be out there at the dais and argue and show dissension. And especially, we're going to be respectful to staff, and not. Many cities you'll see staff members chewed out on the just ripped to shreds on the podium over something that the city council didn't like. Here, never happened. Never happened. When I was being mentored by Jim Starr, Jim was starting to provide me more opportunity to look at facilities and that type of stuff, but we just never got it off the ground. So when I was appointed city manager, I kind of had a vision. I said, we need to move on. I mean, we need to stay up with our competition, because North Richland Hills was coming on strong. Euless was coming on strong. Grapevine was coming on strong. They had added a lot of new development. And knowing that we were pretty much landlocked, and we had to, being landlocked, we had to go ahead and look at redevelopment. That is where we placed all of our emphasis at that point in time. So the transformation of Hearst, or transforming Hearst community retail, was all kicked off when I was appointed city manager. And one of the biggest parts of it were driving all the retail corridors, making sure that the retail corridors looked like they belonged, looked like they weren't dilapidated. So we needed to go ahead and improve our community inspection program, just to go ahead and make sure that our facilities, or the businesses, weren't dilapidated and going downhill. That was number one. After we did that, we decided we'd go ahead and look at all of our facilities, our current facilities. We looked at our fire stations, police stations, city hall, everything. And we said we need to put a plan together to revamp everything, to modernize everything, because all of our facilities, some of them were back in the 50s, and 60s, and they were outdated. They were not meeting the needs of the public, because the public also at that point in time wanted to make sure that they could come into a facility and not have it not smell like rainwater, and those types of things, leaking roofs. So we decided at the time to go ahead and look at all of our facilities, do an inventory. So we actually went ahead and built a new animal shelter, revamped the service center, and then also revamped Fire Station 1 on Precinct Line Road. So we did those 3 right off the bat. Then we also went down and did some remodeling to the Holder Drive Fire Station down in Southhurst, and also looked at needing a presence when we took over ambulance service. We were contracting with the city of Fort Worth to do our ambulance service. MedStar was the company, and we decided we wanted to take that in-house. So we built a brand new fire station at Heritage Village on Pipeline Road. And at the same time, we're sitting there going, hey, we also need to revamp our library. So we went through a complete revamp of the library, expansion, renovation, new roof, the whole works. We looked at the rec center, went through a complete renovation of the rec center. Tennis courts, swimming pool, everything that was in relationship to that. At the same time, we decided, if we have a swimming facility, aquatic center in Southhurst, we need an aquatic center up in Northhurst at Chisholm Park. So we also built the Chisholm Park Aquatic Center at the time. So those are the types of things we're working through as staff. We need to move. We need to get going. And we had funding through sales tax and through the 4B money that was coming in, both regular sales tax and 4B economic development money. So we used a lot of those monies to go ahead and revamp every facility in Hearst. And as city manager, I'm sitting there going, well, if we're building these wonderful facilities, why don't we do nodal development? Someone goes, what's nodal development? Let's look at certain areas. Let's look at the Precinct Line Road, Pipeline Road intersection. Let's look at Hearst Town Center. Let's look at the area here where the City Hall is. Let's look at that as a node. Let's look at the mall as a node. Let's look at North Hearst as a node. Let's look at these areas. Let's look at the rec center as a node. And as we're sitting there understanding what these nodes are, understanding how they can be redeveloped, we had to do some land banking. The only way we could do this was to purchase property. So we purchased a piece of property by the rec center, and then we purchased property at Heritage Village where the fire station just been built, and we were under construction of the new senior center there. We had a joint senior center with the city of Bedford at the Bedford Boys Ranch, and we were getting a lot of feedback that we need our own from the community, and let's put it in a place where it makes sense, where a lot of our seniors are. Steve Bowden was the economic development director at the time, and I met with a developer to look at a senior living community and called Heritage Village. And so we went ahead and he went ahead and built a senior living facility. And I said, God, this is great. We've got a senior living community. We got a senior center. We got a fire station for the medical needs. What else do we need? You know, we're sitting there brainstorming. And what about a heritage park? What about a park that allows us to celebrate our heritage as a city? So we went ahead, built a beautiful fountain, and built a outside pavilion area where performers could come in and perform for the community. The seniors could come out and sit down with their lawn chair and just have fun. You know, just a nice, fun place. The mall was undergoing more renovation. They built the food court. They built a parking deck. So there was a lot going on. So we were still working with the mall throughout that entire process, that redevelopment process, making sure that they remained a wonderful source of our revenue through the sales tax and property tax. The last area that we focused on, other than just maintaining our facilities, you know, all our roadways and those types of things, and drainage, was our City Hall area. We basically decided at that point in time that our vision was to have a walkable environment, to look at, there's a few shopping centers there, maybe potentially even moving City Hall and Public Works to a new location. So we ended up purchasing a piece of property up here where our current conference center is located, and it was a vacant, about a 4-acre piece of property, and thinking at some point in time we may move City Hall up there. So we went through a complete planning study of Hearst Town Center, nodal development. And as we're going through it, I said, we have a prime location down here. I mean, prime location where City Hall's located. We don't really need to move it. We'll do some renovations. We'll work on some things, but we aren't going to go ahead and move City Hall. So we had this property up here. And as I'm sitting there working with the master developers and folks like that, Steve Bowden, we're sitting here going, what could we do up there? Well, one thing that was not in our plan at the time was potentially a meeting facility, a small meeting facility, one where the community could meet. We had Brookside, we call it Brookside Convention Center, is more Brookside meeting facility, but is Brookside Convention Center. What about if we just do a meeting facility up here? Small meeting facility, maybe 15,000 square feet, you know, just do something like that. We started small and ended up big. We started out being very utilitarian to some degree and ended up being very omni-related. And we're saying, if we're going to build this facility, we want to make it unique to this area. We don't want to have any other facility in Euless, North Richland, or any facility that is going to be looking like our conference center. We were thinking, so are we going to get this thing catered, or are we going to go ahead and provide our own kitchen? So in the discussions, we went through a kitchen consultant and decided we'd go ahead and do our own kitchen. And the payoff would be about 3 years for all the stuff that we'd have to put in stoves and everything else, prep areas and washers and refrigeration and all that. So we went ahead, did that, and it really made this facility a step above any other. It for sure made it a step above any other facility in HEB, and even to the point at the time of South Lake. We added on a parking garage later, extension of the parking garage because we couldn't accommodate all the parking. Right before I retired, finished the hotel, the Hilton Garden Inn, which is adjacent to this facility, to make sure that if we had large weddings or large conferences, they would have a place to stay. So another facility we needed to do at the time was our police department. Our police department was in disarray. It was located right next to City Hall. Just aged out. So we went ahead and built the police and jail facility, beautiful facility, and it was finished just about the time I also retired. So the Nodal Development Hursttown Center started out as a little meeting facility, ended up in a major conference center and a beautiful police building along with renovations at City Hall and the Public Works building, plus the additional hotels. Stephen Bowden was a major player in everything that's happened in the city of Hurst. Steve and I met back when he was the mall manager at Northeast Mall. And I said, I'll tell you what, Steve, we'll go ahead and put you on a 6-month temporary assignment. I need you to go ahead and put together a redevelopment plan and development plan for the city of Hurst, and we'll go ahead and take that and take it to the next level. Well, he and I worked together on that plan, came up with a lot of this nodal development that we were doing, a lot of the corridor redevelopment that we wanted to do, and he's been actively helping develop a lot of the development that's going on now down by the rec center, some of the senior housing and some of the apartment type housing that needed to be redeveloped. Plus, he decided he would get out there and meet with every single business in the city of Hurst. That was his goal. You meet with every single business of the city of Hurst. Make sure they understand that the city of Hurst appreciates what they do, and make sure that they understand that we will support them if they need support. So he had an early warning system set up that if a business was looking at going out of business, we could step in potentially and look at what we could do to assist them, maybe reduce rent, get with landlords to reduce their rent, whatever we needed to do. The transformation of all of our city was not just bang, bang, bang. It was all happening together. So we were transforming the city council, we were transforming our economic development and our city infrastructure. I had some thoughts about what I wanted to do organizationally. So I decided, well, we need to make sure that every one of our employees gets training. We need to make sure that they have the best training available to support our customer service programs, because that's the business we're in, is serving our customers and being customer service friendly. So I said, we're going to go ahead and have an annual event, a 3-day conference, in which we are going to train, we being our department directors and a training team that was established, some of our top talent, young talent within the organization were going to be our trainers. And they would come in and train all of our employees on our code of ideals and on our culture. And at that time, I was implementing what I called a code of ideals. It was based on customer service, based on dedication, responsibility. There are many, many tenets that go into what that code of ideals was. That was put together by myself and a team, customer service team, and a consultant to make sure that we had the best customer service possible, both internal and external. Because we were pretty good at the external side of it, we weren't quite as good on the internal side of it. When Public Works wanted something, Public Works, I like fire better. I'll be handling fire before I do public. So there was a lot of that needed to be handled. So the 3-day conference was an opportunity to transform our organization, transform it into a customer-friendly, customer-driven organization. So the conference, we had our trainers, which were developed internally, not externally, internally trained, to train all of our employees, not just a certain segment of employees, not our directors, not our supervisors, everybody. So they're trained, 3-day conference. We had half of our employees trained for 1.5 days, and we had the other half group of employees for the other 1.5 days. City managers, department directors, supervisors got to go off at times to do these, but some of our line employees, our janitors, our custodial staff, our public works folks, never had an opportunity to do that. Never once did they have an opportunity to go out and have the training that we offered as directors, city managers, and also the supervisors. So the employees really bought into this. They loved it. We also had a very strong mentoring program. I mentored many upcoming young supervisors in our organization. I assigned every department director a young mentee to make sure that they would mentor the next generation of supervisors and leaders in our organization. I mentored Clay Carruthers, our current city manager. Great guy, one that is well respected in the community, well respected in city management. So he kind of took where I left off and took it to the next level. So we wanted to make sure we had people in our organization and employees within our organization that could have the same philosophies we had. And then as we promoted people, we always looked internally first. We had so many employees that were just ready to take that next step, ready to have the responsibility of creating a philosophy of an organization. And that's what I did. I turned it over to them to let them do it. Going back and looking at how we implemented the Code of Ideals, it was employees throughout the organization which were involved in this. We couldn't have every employee involved in it, but we had maybe 50 or so employees involved in it. And the way it came up is Brookside was a meeting spot, and there were Post-it notes all over the walls of Brookside on how to come up with what do we want to be kind of when we grow up, and how are we going to get there. And the whole Code of Ideals was developed by Post-it notes, employees' Post-it notes. Allan Weegar was instrumental for upgrading a lot of our events. We had like a small Easter egg hunt. We had tree planting, Arbor Day types of things. We had like a hot dog event at our old pool for 4th of July, that type of thing. But when we went through this transformation redevelopment, when we built the athletic complex down there with soccer fields and baseball fields and all the amenities down there, it provided an opportunity to upgrade everything we were doing. And even up here at the conference center, it allowed us to do a Christmas event here. So that whole transformation allowed us to upgrade everything and upgrade all of our events, pools. The pools allowed us to upgrade our events, splash days, things of that nature. 4th of July down at the athletic complex, and then Christmas here. We used to have a small Christmas event at City Hall, but when we built this facility, it just expanded exponentially, as did the 4th of July event with the fireworks, the bands. We just didn't have anywhere to have that prior to the transformation of our city. And it allowed us to just go to the next level. There's one thing I could always do with Allan Weegar. I could say, Allan, go do this event. Well, it was going to be done 150%. I mean, he would make it just the best event ever. And Hearst was always has been known for the quality of events, quality of the public events we have. The 4th of July gets all sorts of accolades. And even at the library, if you look at our library, The library is one of the top libraries in this area and one of the top libraries in the nation. It's because of Jesse Laux. And it was all due to the staff and due to Allan being parked right there at the library. But also on the recreation side of it, too. Allan was over Parks and Recreation. Turn it over to Allan, it was going to get done. You knew it was going to get done well. I would love to write a book, and I still may do it, on city management and what you experience as a city manager throughout your career. I could fill probably 200 or 300 pages of all the stories and everything that cropped up, good, bad, and indifferent. Good, bad, and indifferent stories. But because every day was a challenge. Every day had, I was at work at probably 6 o'clock every morning, but I never stayed past 5:30 unless I had a meeting. I wasn't one that was going to stay late into the night, and because I was very focused on my children at the time, and making sure that they had a father at home, and that was also very important in the organization. That kind of filtered off. That whole family approach to the organization was very similar to my philosophy on family in my own personal life. Probably one of the best stories is when I started with the city of Hurst. It wasn't the first week. A Mid-Cities News reporter came in and talked to me and said, we want to do a story on you just because you kind of have an interesting background and you went to TCU and all these good things. And she interviewed me and said, talk a little bit about your background. Well, grew up overseas, been to several major conflict countries and all this. So I went through all that. So the main byline on the story came out my third week while I was there. Hurst official has been around. And I have my mustache and a long hair and mustache, and it says, Hurst official has been around. And my wife looked at it and says, what does that mean? We were adding the hotel, and we just put in some brand new live oak trees. And there are 3 of them sitting down by the conference center. So I asked Allan Weegar. I said, Allan, we need to move those trees up to City Hall. We got a spot out there in front of City Hall. Not in front, but in the back side of City Hall by the parking deck. We need to move those up there. Oh, no. We can't move those. They're going to die. They're going to die. I said, no, we can move them. So, okay, well, we're tied up on other projects. And I said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Immediately called Public Works. Said, Public Works, need you to come down and move some trees with me. Oh, yeah, we're going to move some trees. Great. So they brought their backhoe down. They brought their trailer. They brought about 10 guys, had them all in. And I said, listen, guys, I'm going to go ahead and buy you a whole service center, except parks, because they didn't want to do this project. Buy you all a pizza lunch. Oh, thank you. So off they go. All the pizza goes down. I have one of my assistants run and get pizza for the Public Works Department, and they have a pizza party. All of a sudden, here comes the parks guys over wanting to know if they can have some pizza. And they said, of course you can have some pizza. It wasn't an hour later. We had the staff down here the park staff putting irrigation in for those trees. A.J. Brown loved to go out and eat. And there was not a Denny's, a Sambo's or something down on Pipeline Road. So I get in at 8 o'clock, go through all my paperwork. A.J. Brown goes, come on, let's go down and have breakfast. Okay, go down and have breakfast. Go down and have breakfast. It's like 8:45. Have breakfast, come back to work, gives me assignment. I work noon. Let's go have lunch. Okay, noon, we're going out. We have lunch at another spot. Come back. Said, what are you doing tonight? I said, not going out to eat. So we went out to breakfast, and it was always, it was like right at the beginning of the day, not even before work. It was, let's go eat breakfast. But when he went to eat breakfast, there was the crowd down there that always he would meet with at the breakfast place. And some of the personalities in that breakfast club down there were amazing. But AJ knew them all, and AJ knew exactly that's where he got his information. But there's a lot of food flying through there. And by the end of the week, I went home and I told my wife, Cindy, I said, Cindy, I've been out to eat 5 times this week. This is a great job, but I'm going to be 300 pounds. There have been so many personalities in this city over the years. CA has been one of them, just a wonderful guy. He was a great personality. And Steve Moore, police chief at the time, started his career at CA's cooking chicken fried steaks. That's where he started his career. And I'll always remember that, how that intertwines into the future of our community, into all that transformation, everything that's gone on in this community and where it's headed for the future, and all of that is that kind of that, it came from good people. It came from people committed. It just came from people that were really loving this community, and they wanted to make it the best they could make it. Well, going back to the beginning, when I drove down Highway 10 and looked at the commercial area, about didn't apply for this position or for a job at the city of Hurst. Now knowing what I know, I would do it again in a minute. I stayed here because of the quality of life in this city, because of very positive quality of life, high quality of life, not just quality of life, a high quality of life. My family grew up in Hurst. All my kids grew up in Hurst. They went to Porter Elementary School in North Hurst, the only Birdville Elementary School in Hurst, in North Hurst. My wife was connected to the community. I was connected to the soccer associate. My daughter played soccer. My sons played baseball and soccer. Probably the one thing I can say is the city provided me an opportunity to grow in a career which I love. It provided me an opportunity to make sure that this city is well known nationally and also throughout the state. It provided me an opportunity to explore my management philosophies, explore my management opportunities, and risk take. Because I during my career, just with the whole transformation stuff, it was a risk taking. And when you're purchasing property, you're going through mall expansions, you're doing everything that we did as an organization, and me personally in guiding this organization, it's a risk. And it paid off in spades, and I have enjoyed everything I've done for the city, and I really feel gratified with the career, and I really thank the city of Hurst for providing me this opportunity. And I plan on staying here. Don't have any plans on moving anytime soon, and just continue on and continue to give back.